Okay, so hello everybody, and it's been quite a while, no, since I was able to talk or make a video lecture for my class, and I apologize for the delay. For there are some things that I have to finish first because of the deadlines. The physical self and the material self are short topics, and I made it quite shorter for we will just be talking about the salient points of the said topics. Okay, we are now done with Unit 1, and we are now here in Unit 2, which basically talks about the total, and not really total, but what really constitutes the self. No? So we will be talking about many selves here. Physical self, we will be talking about, for this topic, we will be talking about the physical self and the material self, but we will also be talking later on about the sexual self, political self, spiritual self, and even the digital self. Okay? So this is the longest part sa ato ang klase or sa ato ang subject. Okay? So without further ado, we will now be proceeding with the physical self. To be honest, actually, in my class, in my face-to-face class, I really don't discuss the physical self because it really is self-explanatory. If you would read, it really talks just like about the body, no, on how it is one of the most observable, the one that is the most one of the important parts of the self, since it basically does the thing, that we want to do. Okay, so same as with what I have talked, about the material self, the William James, of how important the body is. The physical self is just like that. Okay, it emphasizes the importance of the body. So instead of diving it, I usually do activities kasi, like physical activities in my class when we discuss the physical self. But I have to make an exception, lisod po di pa sayo-sayo tamo, dira for this online lecture. Okay, so we will just be discussing the issue on the physical self, okay, which is the concept of the body in contemporary times, or the times that we have right now. Okay, it was stated in the reading material that for Garza in 2017, the media sets the standards of what is sexy. He also added that this standard has a tendency to cause young girls and grown women to believe that if you are not hot according to conventional standards, then you're not interesting or desirable. The media have been quite influential, especially during these times. Okay, the media, I believe, have been giving pressure not just to women but also to men about how we should look. Okay, it's just that in research kasi, women are much more affected when it comes to being kanibitang body conscious, and what we have to look like, even though there are people man that is quite body activists in a sense, kanibitang respect body, inanagid nilang advocate, but there are really women there who are affected by how the media imposes the standards of beauty, or imposes the standard of what is sexy. Okay, there was even this theory called as the objectification theory by Fredrickson and Roberts in 1997, wherein it stated that women internalizes the heteronormative male perspective that their personal value derives from their physical appearance or sexual appeal. Okay, this is quite destructive, because self-objectification actually let us see the psychological process in which how the objectification process affects the woman or a woman in terms of how he or she perceives himself or herself. Okay, this is quite sad, since the it's changing naman noon, but this is quite sad because there are still some what we call this, websites, magazines, wherein the indication of beauty in there is actually slim, tall, and all those things. No? objectification or self-objectification, objectification coming from the male is just basically like looking at a woman's body just like a thing. Okay, self-objectification is when a woman actually considers how other people sees their body, no, and if those people have this negative perception about how they look, it affects the woman itself, herself. Okay. The thing about objectification theory is that it actually affects women more compared to men, and it actually results into serious psychological problems such as anorexia nervosa, bulimia, okay, anorexia and bulimia. Okay, so I guess you are already aware with that. Anorexia is when a person perceives himself or herself as dili bitaw siya ingon nga kanang healthy, no? Panlato niya siyang, for example, ako na kay anorexia. Akong panglato sa akong kaligong sa samin kay kanang tambok power. In fact, in reality, niwang na juki ko sa nga tanan, isang ubo na lang ko. Okay, so that is the idea of anorexia. Naturally distorted view of their own body. Bulimia is a different thing because it actually involves guilt wherein kusog ka mukaon, and then eventually you'll realize that if you eat too much, manambok ka, then you will just purge na lang, pugso nimo nga magsuka ka. Okay, so that is bulimic, that is bulimia nervosa, and it happens all the time. And not really all the time, but it happens when it triggers to happen. Okay, so those are just some effects of this objectification theory that we have. No? However, the thing about beauty, according to Petty, is that it actually changes from time to time, which is also true. The standard, even the media pressures individuals or people on what sexy should look like. However, we should not disregard the fact that the standards of beauty is already changing. Okay, before we most of those people considers kanang lighter skin or kanang puti, kaya mas palagi mga puti, but right now many people are having tan because it is quite sexy to them. Having tan body actually kanang sculpts your muscles more, making you look way more sexier and hotter. Okay, so and even in some culture, in some places in the world, they have different views about beauty. Okay, so perfection is an ephemeral ideal bound to change and transform from generation to the next. Okay, so if you have some thoughts, this is not a question pa, but if you have some thoughts regarding how destructive objectification or self-objectification is, you can share that in our forum. Okay, so that's it for the physical self. Ano lang siya ka-short, no? Okay, next we have is the material self. Okay, so the material self is just basically acknowledging that we are consumers. Ana lang. Okay, so I Shop Therefore I Am is a school of thought where it is looking into the meaning of consumer culture from a different point of view. Okay, so let us not deny that to some, shopping have become a part of our lifestyle. Now we shop for food, clothing, or essentials in our house. Kanang mga toothbrush, sabon, shampoo. Okay, we shop for those. We shop for those. However, there's a tendency kasi that we shop not because we need it, but there are times that we shop because we want it. Okay? So, the power of consumption or consuming, it is when the consumer starts to realize that the power of consumption is hindering us from finding the real essence of life and happiness. Okay? There are times, nakadungog taan ni Piramido, money can buy happiness. Money can buy happiness daw. Okay? Now, okay, so this is the question na lang for this PowerPoint presentation. Isa lang. Does money really buy us happiness? No? So, if not, kung sa di ay nga itong ma-feel, if not happiness. Okay, so that is the question for this topic. Now, the issue is about what you buy and what you choose to invest in, and not what makes you happy, because the modern society says so. How does the society or how does the community tells us? No, how does it influences our power or our ability to consume or our ability to buy something? Kung sa I say sa society, and how the society does this, no? Now, in the political and sociological point of view of consumerism, it is stated that we tend to show our love by spending money on each other, like going out for fine dining, giving expensive gifts and others, which manifests our affection to someone. In some sense, this is the sociological point of view, because to some, yes, we often acknowledge or we often give our appreciation through giving material things to those people that we appreciate. However, the thing about the sociological point of view is that this might go to the extreme end bitaw, wherein we tend to consume more and more and more just because of having this acknowledgement. Okay, just because we want this acknowledgement, knowing that we cannot afford this anymore, but for the sake of acknowledgement, we have to be still in that line. For example, in a group of friends who always goes milk teaing, kay ikaw, gana ka makapart sa ila ang group nang dito mag-milk tea nga, wala dyan ka ika milk tea, para lang yun bito nga, maapil ka po kasi lang group, apil ka po kag milk tea, na mahalig nagka-chuk-chak na kadira o binayad so kung asa kag milk tea. Okay, so there are times that this is actually quite destructive po, no? So, and for the political, people tend to transform politics into some sort of commerce where candidates must sell themselves to you rather than each voter making an informed choice for good of the country. In a political standpoint, candidates daw must sell themselves in the form of campaigns, kana mga bowler, mga sitina, kana ilang mga ilang jingle, okay, more in ana bito ang mahitabo daw ideally, but what really happens is that this is quite sad kay miski ako kuan ko pa ng dili ko wala ko labot ha. I mean, I usually know some people who does this vote buying, wherein they sell their vote na lang hinoon, so it became the other way around hinoon ba. Okay, so commerce is strongly present in almost all important aspects in life and thus shape those aspects in its image. Okay, so those are the political and the sociological point of view. Next point of view is the psychological point of view. So people who do not have a strong sense of who they are, long for identity, and with it external validation of that identity. The thing about the psychological point of view is that people consume for the sake of knowing for who they are, because usually what they buy is what they are. Okay, for example, there are people who really likes to collect antiques. Okay, even though mahal ka na nga antique, but they usually associate themselves as a collector, and for the sake of having that identity of a collector, they have to continuously acquire those things that they have to collect through buying. Okay, And some people man pud kasi, no, some people pud kasi, like, we cannot blame them, no, we cannot blame them anjud. Some people actually spends, no, especially if kami bitong dili pagid murag makulangan sila. How do I say this? For example, ako, usually kasi there's a part of me that is really a impulsive buyer. Impulsive buyer jud ko, not because dili na nako i-deny, dili na nako ikon akong self, dili na nako i-defend akong self. I really am an impulsive buyer when it comes to games. Okay, because there's a part of me kasi that says bitaw nga kung dili bitaw ni din paliton murag there is something missing sa ako. Okay, that is quite a problem of mine already. I was able to invest, not really invest, but I was able to buy games for like siguro mga 20,000 siguro ko nagasto tungod lang sa games lang jud siya din. It's quite siguro ang uban makaingon ako mama yung addict nito ka na mga dula-dula, but for me something's telling me bito that I have to buy this for the sake of fulfilling my own self. Okay, so mga inaana bitaw og dating a psychological point of view, no, of external validation of our identity. Okay, so I hope that clears out some things. Okay, now let's talk about consumerism. No, consumerism is an ideology that an increasing consumption of goods is economically desirable. Okay, if one has all the means for buying things, no, then one can be happy. So, nato daw we become happy by buying and buying. To sometimes kani we just consume for the sake of consumption. Okay, now there is this concept of conspicuous consumption, wherein it is the practice of purchasing goods or services to publicly display wealth rather than to cover basic needs. Okay, meaning to say, this is the practice of the acquisition of expensive goods, no, which gives us this perception that you are rich. Okay, so bitaw ka na bitang you buy for the sake bitaw of exposing or displaying that you are actually rich, no, perception mag-inana. Usually kasi when we have this, okay, for example, we know many people who have these luxury bags, no, we have this luxury jewelries, we have luxury cars, no, we have luxury clothes, and even luxury clothes na noon, we have design nag-luxury na hinom ko. Okay, balik. We have designer bags, no, luxury na mga jewelries, luxury car, designer clothes, and even designer shoes. We know so many people, especially those, and when we know someone who has this, automatically makaingon gibeta nga, ay hala dato siya. Okay, so marami to siya, ang dating bitaw kay they are just consuming or they are just buying for the sake of saying na I am rich. So basically, their possessions does all the talking. Okay, di ba? Okay, there's no problem with that. It's just that if you have the means to do it, no? Kung na kay power maghinilas, then go paghinilas. Okay, maginana. It's just sometimes manggod. This is becoming problematic the moment we cannot distinguish bitaw our wants from our needs. Diba? Usually mag-ana na sila ay mag-overlap, no? What we thought at first na want lang nato, it slowly merges with our needs. But in fact, dili gid bitaw siya need gid nato. Okay? So that's the problem with conspicuous consumption. Okay? So, consumption is intimately tied to the creation and production of the sense of self. In what way? No, we have our real self, plus the product that we have is actually actually results in the perceived self. This perceived self is not what you perceive. No, this perceived self is not the perceived self that you see, but rather this perceived self is what you think other people sees you. Okay, that is why we have the product there. The product is quite important because it actually affects how other people sees us. Okay, so as what I have talked about the conspicuous consumption. Okay, the product or the possessions that we have really does all the talking, diba? So consumption works as a way to create a sense of self-functioning, as a way for the consumers to connect with the society at large, where they think they fit within the social structure. Okay, so how does the community affects, or how does our environment or the society affects how we consume, or the way we consume things? First is that we have advertisements or advertisements. This carry the message that we become happy and contented if we buy, and buy. No, this is the power of advertising. Usually, advertising has this power bitaw of kanabitang convincing people, no? No, convincing people. For example, kana mga plans, kana mga life plans, no? Na sila sa advertisement bitaw nga someone is worrying about death. So make them worry about something so that your product or the advertisement of your product is very much successful, no? Sa inyong advertisement, nandito ka ng kunot na kaayog face, na wrinkles and all, make them worry about that so that they will buy your product. Kaya ana ang marag dating sa advertisement nato ron, di ba? To samang po na pagka ng mga advertisement nga kanang ang ga-advertise kay mga sikat na people, mga idol sa mga daghang tao. So kay ang ilang idol gagamit man ana, so ila apong paliton. Okay, so and sometimes makita nilang idol to happy lang idol mo gamit ana, so they have this idea na alam si ma-happy pa siguro ko ani kay gamit ni idol. Okay, so some advertisements actually carry the message that we become happy and contented. So if we purchase, if we buy more and more goods. Okay, this is not new already. We have been exposed to many advertisements. Bisag asa ta mo adto Facebook, YouTube gani o pila ka ads. Duha ay haka maka-skip. Facebook gani dili mo ma-skip ang ads. Grabe na, di ba? Shopping seems to function more as a substitute for something that we lack in life. Is this true? So, unsa rin yung substitute niya? No? Is it happiness? Is it contentment? No? Or is it really just there to give us comfort? No, whenever we feel anxious? Okay, so there are things wherein shopping is actually a part already of our life. Okay, to some. Okay. So if you look around and see that everyone is having a life inclined with consumerist aspirations, it is most likely that most of us will see this as the only way of life that is available, or even think that it would be the best life. It is important to give oneself time to reflect upon one's life and to not forget that there is something even more important than the acquisition of goods dictated by the society, that it is a way of making us happy. Okay? Okay. So these are the following effects of consumerism. We have the positive effects: more industrial production, a higher growth rate in economy, more goods and services available. Okay, so you have there, basahan na lang na siya, no? Okay, so yes, consumerism, because the more we actually purchase goods, the more employment opportunities will be given to people, diba? And variety of products can be chosen, no, from different providers. Okay, So yeah, but there are also negative effects. No? The wants and desires of the people increases. Over dependence on labor-saving devices. Okay, this is quite true. We usually do things the easier way, and we usually prefer things doing it on the easier way rather than the manual. Crime rate also increases as wants to possess expensive gadgets also increases. Okay, so since our wants and desires increases, no, this could also affect how individuals behave in such a way to actually satisfy their wants and desires. In this context, stealing, okay, mga hawat. So cheaper goods are imported rather than other goods, affecting the growth of locally based manufacturing industries. Okay, diba? Support local. Consumerism has also resulted in ecological imbalance. Industrial pollution is affecting people in many ways, and psychological health also can get affected if one's desires are not met, such as depression. If you were watch Dr. Phil's episode, there is one there na very spoiled kasi nga bata. Okay, actually, di na ako siya discuss. Kitaas kayo siya chismis, okay? So, actually, that is the last part na. Now, since that is the end of the material self, after I post this video, I will be providing a YouTube link sa atong classroom. Okay, I will be providing a YouTube link sa atong classroom, and you will be like analyzing, no, the song on how it manifests or how it talks about consumerism. Okay, so pag ma-upload na siya, nanading to that ang YouTube link, and once you finish watching this video, ma-access na po dayon ninyo to siya nga YouTube link. Okay, so I hope this is clear, no, to all of you. So see, 30 minutes or siya discussion. It's very short, and I will see you guys next time on one of my favorite topics, the sexual self. So see you guys next time. Okay, so don't forget to answer sa forum about if money can really buy us happiness or not. So if not, consider yung mahatag sa tuwa. Okay? So thank you guys for coming, and again, I'll see you next time, and have a good day.